and it had to be submitted back to them within about 3 days because it was very time sensitive. So what we're looking at here is just for the approval of it at this point. It has already been signed and sent off, and the check is actually on its way already. I will stand for any questions, concerns.
What do you expect to use this money for?
That is totally up to what the shelter needs. I did ask Best Friends as far as what shelters have done with it in the past. A lot of them will use it for training to better their staff, to better technology. Because let's face it, everything changes all the time as far as like illnesses, medications, what we can do for shelter care. Some use it for shelter supplies, some use it towards buildings as far as like if we need like a storage shed for anything. It is an open-ended grant. It is something that I'm currently working on putting some suggestions together, and then I'll be sitting down with City Manager Whitehead to come up with how we want to use it. So I have no idea currently exactly what to use it for because that's a good chunk of money, but I'm sure I can find something.
It's a nice problem to have.
It's a nice problem to have. Exactly.
I was thinking doggy swimming pool.
I am not opposed to that.
Sorry.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Ms. Manning, obviously your passion for our animal friends manifests itself into continued revenue sources for our shelter. So thank you so much for your dedication to your job, and keep up the good work. It's nice to have these things. Right. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the grant as presented.
I second.
The motion, second, Ms. Torres.
Honorable Travis Klein.
Aye.
Honorable Ralph Ashford.
Aye.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell. Honorable Ingo Hopner.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Congratulations, good job.
Thank you.
Item G2, discussion action, contract agreement amendment proposal, Wilson and Company, critical water line project. Ms. Everett.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Commissioner. Manager Whitehead updated the commission on this change order at the last meeting during his manager report. Upon further discussion, we decided that this needed to come back to the commission for official action. And so that's why we're bringing it back. With that, I'll defer to City Manager Whitehead. Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission. Yes, again, this is part of our critical water line project, which is our $17.5 million water project. The commission in 2022 approved the HUD grant application. So when I reviewed this purchase order against the HUD grant, it appeared that the commission had approved the amounts and the contract with Wilson and Company to perform the design, construction management, bidding, and those items. But when we went back to look, we had not approved the full amount in the purchase order amount. So if you look at the documents that are presented, you can see the HUD document talks about the project being a $20 million project. That's what the commission, through work with Wilson and Company and your PER, indicated that fixing those water lines in the Steel Street areas would effectively cost us. Wilson and Company provided you a proposal of $3.1 million to do that design work for that $20 million project. Okay, that design also includes all the construction management. The action that you took at that time was you received a $1.6 million grant from Senator Heinrich. That was eligible to be used. It covers our match, and it was eligible to be used for planning. So the purchase order you let and the contract was for $1.6 million for partial planning and design. Okay, so in this particular case, all we're doing is now asking you to complete the purchase order, give us authorization to grant the $1.4 million that Wilson will need to finish the design work of critical water, and then as we move into the bidding and the design and the construction management. So this will get the project for its full 3 years. And so that's why we brought that back. And when I had reviewed the HUD, I saw that approval, but again, the purchase order was not done correctly. So this did require that it come back to you for approval. Okay. I hope I've explained that well.
I thought you did a really good job explaining this to me yesterday, because I was in the dark. I saw these, in the packet. I'm seeing these, lengthy contracts. Oh my gosh, do I need to familiarize myself with all this again? But actually, it's really a much more simple concept. If you look in your packet, you're going to see here just the change order request. There it is, right there. In black and white, amount of $1,415,774.75 total increase. And then Mr. Whitehead then showed me the line item budget where he actually identified where the money is going to be going, and it adds up to 1.4 million. So that's the best way to eat. That was the easy way for me to understand what was going on here.
Questions, concerns? A couple of just general questions. So we're talking about installation of over 37,000 linear feet of water line. That's the project, right?
Correct.
Okay. What happens and what's occurred in the past is that we've had disruptions. Is there a disruption plan if we affect the hospital or the schools? Should that be in the contract? Is there a discussion about that? How do we plan on handling that? One of the things I would recommend is that we have the maintenance supervisors of the hospital and or the schools present at some of our meetings. And then so they can hear not only what we're doing and what areas we're affecting, but I'd like to have some assurances that, hey, if there's an incident where we disrupt a water line, this is how we're going to deal with it, or this is how we're going to go around that so that we can ensure that you have water. Is that a discussion we need to have with our engineers, or how does that work?
Yes, I think it's a discussion that we will continue to have with our engineers, and it is ongoing. Again, we go back to the water break that happened a month ago when the new construction started and shut the schools down. So we've had a face-to-face meeting with the schools. They are now in our email chain of all the information that's happening. And so I've spoke with them about a potential, in this particular project, critical water, we shouldn't have any effect on the schools or that infrastructure at the hospital, include the fire department, all that in that area, because this will be over on the Steel Streets, but we will have disruption to potentially our wastewater plant.
Right.
We could have disruption to Williamsburg. So I think we'll continue to mature that. I've spoke at the session when we were there, we spoke with the legislators about potentially, looking at ways that we could fund. The school is asking for ways that they could potentially find some workarounds. But yeah, the conversation needs to keep going, and we will continue to ask our engineers to consider, the downside. We approved a change order yesterday on the shovel-ready project. I think we'll be bringing that to you for your review, but it's to install an item called an InstaValve, and that is an emergency measure that the contractor could then use if they break a line or a line breaks. So again, I don't want to say the contractor, because in our original case, they didn't break the line; they just exposed it and it broke. But we've added $60,000 in shovel ready so that we would have a contingency for this item called InstaValve to be able to do that. I think we just have to keep talking about it and work on it.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was on the radar somewhere so that, because it's going to happen. We're going to, we have 3 years, $50 million. There's going to be issues that arise, and I just want to make sure that we have a way out when those things happen.
And I would add, in this particular project, a big chunk of it, 750,000 of this is not going to be spent at this moment. It's really for the construction phase. And, Tracy and I, we began to start looking at that piece, and we had a good conversation yesterday on the Cantrell project to really have them assess to us kind of what that construction management is going to look like. So make sure that we're getting the best dollar. So we may not, my hope is that we don't spend everything that they have, but yet we still need to make sure that we're getting the good inspection on these projects, right? I certainly don't want to be the one that said, yeah, let's cover that, and that compaction looks like it's okay. I'm not qualified to do so. So you have to keep that in mind. We want a quality project, and it takes dollars to pay those engineers to manage it. But we'll continue to work and tighten our belt there. And then this is, no matter what we end up with, let's say we only get 32,000 linear feet of pipe because of the bidding. It looks like prices are better. The entire design for that area will be complete. So we would not have to go spend more dollars engineering. PER's done, engineering's done. So we could go find, the money that we need to finish if we ended up short on our bid. So we're paying them for 100% design and concept.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Having none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order request and ENG engineering agreement amendment as presented.
Second it.
Honorable Ingo Hopner,
Aye.
Honorable Todd Klein, Honorable Ron Kessler,
Aye.
Honorable Dustin Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Right, move on to G3, discussion update, capital project list, Assistant City Manager Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Commissioners. I'm not gonna spend the time and go project by project. I think you guys are very familiar with all the projects that are on here. Just wanted to highlight just a couple of points. Currently, the city has obtained, and we have in our coffers, almost $70 million in funds for various projects from the airport, animal shelter, parks, streets, water, wastewater. The other item I'll highlight on your second page of that and going to be over the last year and a half years, we have completed a little over $17 million in projects for the various departments as well. Those projects were funded and they've been fully completed. And some of these would reference some of those projects we're cleaning up on the farm. So, and then your next section is going to be pending and future applications. There again, these are items that have been brought to the commission or ones that you guys are familiar with through the legislative process. We currently have approximately $25 million in projects that we're applying for. And then on the last page is just the list of the ones that we do for fiscal agents. So that's going to be your Main Street, Boat Street projects, and then the SJOA that we're fiscal agents for. And with that, I'll stand for questions on any particular projects or funding sources that the commission may have.
You. Questions?
It's very helpful.
As you can see with all of these projects, especially the ones that we have full funding for, all of these projects include a lot of meetings, not only obviously bringing things to the commission to update you on, but just internal meetings. You know, all these departments are very involved in each one of these funding sources, construction meetings, engineering meetings. Gary's probably overloaded with a lot of meetings for some of these, you know, but it's a lot of juggling and we're doing great.
Maybe a general observation. These are the fruits of this commission, previous commissions, and our management's direction over the last several years. And it's coming to the culmination of what we have in front of us here today. It's a lot of work. So I would say that we've been pretty successful. Now we have to put it into the ground and we have to move forward with it. So good job to you guys. Good job to our previous commissions, previous mayors. You know, this is work that's been done over 4 or 5 years. It's like I said, it's coming to fruition now. So I appreciate the hard work.
Sorry, I do have one more question. On the WISP 1 and 2, we have grants for those. We also have a loan component. Where do those loans come from?
So they come from the applicable department in the case of WISP 1 and WISP 2. That's one of the loan components that's associated with our water enterprise fund. So
Okay. Debt repayment, right? We paid it down. Okay.
yeah, you'll see me come to the commission here, hopefully very soon with an ordinance for the WISP 2, and we're going to pay off our, what we call the pre-development or the design loan that we have with Bank of the Southwest. And we're going to bring it to you as a bridge loan. That bridge loan will be for the full amount of the WISP, USDA WISP loan. We'll use those loan funds to pay off the design portion to Bank of the Southwest. We'll have the remaining to move into construction portion of WISP 2. Once we expend all of our allowable loan funds, we'll come back to you. USDA will pay off Bank of the Southwest, and then we will have only the loan portion that we'll be paying to USDA, which it's a loan and it stings, but at least it's very low interest through the USDA process. Yes.
Well, it's nice to have everything together at our fingertips to see where we are. So good work and thanks for keeping these up. So you update these spreadsheets every day, don't you?
Oh, no.
I mean, that's a project we keep up with every day, right?
I try to update these as funding comes in, and I would say every few months, just as a simplified breakdown for each one of these projects that were funded. I have what's called a grant matrix, and that one tracks every invoice that we've paid, every request I've submitted for reimbursement for each project, and then every time the reimbursement comes in. And that's something that I work closely with finance on. So we ensure that invoices are getting paid, reimbursement requests are getting submitted, and our funding is coming back through the grant. Those I update very often.
Mayor, just to give you context, I spent some time, I try to study other, websites and communities, just look at what they're doing. I happen to be on City of Las Cruces. City of Las Cruces has 35 total community projects for about a budget of 53.2 million. The work you have exceeds the number that Las Cruces has project. So, and they have 2 more people that work for them. Yeah, in every department. So.
Been an interesting ride up and that way. So that was a discussion update. Do we have any further discussion? Philip,
I'm always available if anybody wants to discuss.
Okay. Thank you. Good job. Item G4, discussion action, fire department presentation, request for purchase of Spartan ERV 500 gallon pumper on international HV5, whatever all that stuff means. Figure out.
Mayor, Commission Manager, I presented you a little appetizer to start with before the entree. This is just a printout. We did 190 calls last year. This is broken down. Each page has a different section. The first page is strictly fire. Then it goes into overpressure or explosion on page 2. These are done by what we call the NIFRS codes, which now changes to the nearest codes. So it used to be National Fire Incident Reporting. Now it's National Emergency. So this all changed in the state of New Mexico. The 300 series, the third page is anything that was rescue, medical. We did some automobile accidents with injuries, without injuries. Then hazardous conditions with no fire on page 4. We get into service calls on the 500 series, and then good intent. And then finally, the last one is your false alarms and so forth. So you can see we run quite a few false alarms get canceled in service. But we are this September, we will be finishing our 103rd year as a volunteer organization to this community. So what you have in front of you for this presentation to approve is a fire truck that we spec'd out through the state fire marshal's office. Currently, we got rid of our 2 small mini pumpers. And what we needed was something a little bigger. We needed 4-wheel drive. We didn't need quite a Class A pumper, but we wanted the pump to be able to put it in service. That's why it's 1,250 gallons a minute. It only carries 500 gallons, but it allows us to get on some of these dirt roads behind the river and so forth and not take our big metro trucks out. So this is kind of going to fill a little niche. It's also got what we call ultra high pressure system in it. It's 1,500 PSI at 20 gallons a minute. And you can actually fight a lot of fire with that. So that'll help us with dumpster fires, car fires, and so forth. So we have been working on this spec. We finally got it approved by the state fire marshal's office. We have this money set aside in our budget. With approval, it's still going to be a year or 2 before we see it. We're trying to lock in the price now. Believe it or not, this price over $700,000. Our ladder truck, 75 ladder truck that we bought, I guess we started approval maybe in 2019 or 20. We paid cash for that. It was $780,000 at that time. This truck is almost that price now. And the ladder truck is over 1.4 million. So we're really trying to lock in the price right away so that we can keep it at this price, even though it's going to be a year or 2 before we actually see it. It'll be stationed at our south side there in Williamsburg, and we'll have a full complement. We'll have 4 trucks out of the north side, and 4 trucks out of the south side out of Williamsburg. So I'll stand for any questions you may have about it.
All right. Questions, comments?
Mayor Pro Tem, also we have our CPO here, which will talk to you about the procurement side of the house to make sure everything's in order for that as well for you.
Yeah, I think currently we're carrying about 1.2 million. We just got another allotment of 200-something thousand. So we receive a little over 500,000 each year. If we don't spend that, we have to justify the state fire marshal why we're holding on to that funds, and part of that fund is going to be this $700,000. So we're not asking any money from the city. This is all coming from our fire. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's have Carlos come on.
Carlos?
Morning, Mayor. Oh, Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. Like he was talking about, just the fire truck, the Spartan ERV 500-gallon bumper. That was, like you said, it was part of the fire fund, which was exactly $715,789. And it was part of the Sourcewell contract. And yeah, we're just hoping to get that up. And I also, I don't know if I should move on to the next item, but I also have another item.
Let's take care of the fire truck at this point. So everything with procurement is in order for you?
It's
Items are ready to go?
everything is good to go. We just hope to get it approved.
So it's a sole source. There's no place else we can go for this thing, right? It's pretty specialized.
No, Mayor Pro Tem, it's not sole source. The purchasing contract is through Sourcewell.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So just kind of those words get twisted. So we have cooperative agreements. The fire department they're participants in that. And so this is being purchased through a Sourcewell agreement. And if you look at the first page of the procurement, you could see they've provided the set contractual discount on the truck. That's the $38,975 that the fire department receives for utilizing the Sourcewell agreement. So
And just one quick note on that too. So the specs we have to put together have to be sent to the state fire marshal. So every little single thing from the paint to everything on that truck has to be approved. If there's any changes, then we got to go through the whole process again. So it was a big jump for us to at least get the state fire to say, we look good, we can approve them, you can move forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any questions? Further comments? All right, having none, I entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the recommendation
The purchase of the fire department
purchase.
Spartan ERV 500-gallon pumper International HC5.
Thank you, Madam.
You're welcome.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Did you make that motion?
I made that.
Honorable Destiny Mitchell,
Aye.
Honorable Ingo Hopner, Honorable Rob Hessler, Honorable Todd Glenn.
Carried unanimously. Thank you.
thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Carlos.
Twice.
Mayor, if I could, just one question.
Okay.
That'd be a good question. A lot of people don't understand.
The last comment by Mr. Cooley said it wasn't coming from the city side, but where actually is it coming from? And I was just trying to.
Yeah.
clarify.
All
All right.
The state fire fund is generated from a sales tax on insurance, 3% tax on all insurance from homeowners to automobiles and so forth. That money is collected all year, then it is split up based on your ISO rating and how many qualifiers you have to your fire departments in the community. We were able to get all of that money finally in 2020. We would get money for the grant, and then they would take money to the general fund. We were able to get all that money finally in 2020. So that's why we had a big increase in our funding of $500,000, plus also other grant monies that we can go after. But that's a great question. It's 3% tax and everybody pays for it on your insurance. So
Okay.
Yeah. You opened up a couple of questions.
can of worms.
So explain to us what the ISO rating is
Okay, so.
and how well we're doing as a volunteer fire department and why we get all this money.
Well, so we have to go back a little ways. ISO has been around. It used to be the Insurance Service Organization. It is now owned by Verisk. They rate every fire department in the nation from a grade of 1 to 10, 10 being the least, you don't have much coverage, 1 being the best coverage. Not necessarily from the fire department, but also the water. It's basically a community judgment as far as what your insurance rates are based upon. So that ISO rating is done through the state of New Mexico with the state fire marshal's office. They come in and they basically go through us about every 5 to 10 years to reevaluate your entire community, from your water system to your communications to the fire department and your risk reduction. the state fire marshal has tied our money to that rating. So the better the rating you get, the more money you receive. So we are currently still the only all-volunteer fire department in the state of New Mexico that's class 2. And we're very proud of that because we receive basically 100 and something thousand, well, it's almost 150,000 per qualifier. So each station plus our administration station at the city. So currently right now we're receiving over $500,000 a year. So we're very proud of that, but we try to be very frugal with our money. We don't ask for a lot from you guys because we do receive quite a bit so that we can get all of our equipment, bunker gear, trucks, radios, whatever we need, we try to use just strictly our state fire fund for that.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all thank you for what you do.
Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem, I would just piggyback. So you heard him say it's really a community effort, right? It's not just about the trucks and the department. It is the fire and our ability to deliver water, right? So currently, right, our system might be struggling with our water problems to deliver the right pressure. So that's why it's important. And so Chief Tooley is in many of our meetings when it comes down to location of fire hydrants and those items. So he participates as well because that ISO rating is about our community, not just the number of trucks we have. And then the last point I'll bring up, we actually kind of moved to item 5, which is the discussion items of procurement. And then so the next item would be the Baker supply portion. And so I'll let Carlos handle that for you.
Okay.
Yes, the Baker Utility Supply Corp, the water department, they are, so the procurement department, along with the water department, they issued a statewide price agreement contract. It was to fix water leaks and fixtures and stuff. Previously, a few months ago, they had put up a requisition for $40,000, and they want to do another requisition for $40,000, obviously exceeding the $60,000 threshold. This new one is for the same reason, to fix water leaks, and that is what the Baker Utility Supply Corp is about.
Which is also on state price agreement, which would allow us to move forward exceeding the $60,000.
We on the right.
Yeah. One is on,
This one is on 458.
yeah, G5 was the first one, and then 5B is the second one.
Do we have to approve them separately?
No, you can approve them together if you want to approve both of them.
Mayor Pro Tem, let me just also brief you. So under procurement, one of the rules indicates that you cannot divide procurement up to avoid the $60,000 threshold, right? So one of the concerns would be, well, the manager has the ability, and so I would break those apart to avoid it. You can't do so. So in this particular case, this is close enough to that threshold, even though it's a statewide price agreement, right? So the purchasing is already done, but we did issue a PO for 40. The second 40 would pass the 60,000 threshold, by which I'm authorized to do so. It's relevant and important that it comes to you for that approval.
Okay. Sorry, now I'm caught up. Thank you. All right, do we have any further discussion? Okay, so for item 5B, we already did 5A, right?
So A and B.
A and B together?
Yeah.
All right,
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation by the CFO on both items 5A and 5B. That's what it said.
I'll second that. Have a motion, second, Ms. Torres?
Honorable Ralph Hessler,
Aye.
Honorable Chaz Klein,
Aye.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Ingo Haas.
Motion carries unanimously. Move on to item G6.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, actually, on that last, when you said we're approving the CFO, do we want to actually throw in there, we're actually approving the purchase requisitions themselves, just to make it clear that's what they.
That's how I have it in the master.
You do have it? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, all right. Make sure it's clear what we're doing. All right.
G6, discussion action, town and septic lease agreement. Mr. Whitehead.
Excuse me. Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, before you today is a final draft of the Talon septic lease. If you remember that lease expired at the end of December. In the middle of December, you granted us the ability to extend it for 2 months while we completed the work necessary. I think the contract inside your document has I left it in green and it was presented to you so you could see the items. So I'll try to go over those timely, and then we had some questions asked, and I'll attempt to answer these questions. And then our tenant is also here with us. If you could ask additional questions for that. So the first item that we would bring up, this contract would start January 1st, 2026. So we're really backdating it. It's important that we kind of keep these on a normal course of business contract. We've proposed that this become a 5-year contract, renewal every 5 years. The original contract that the city allowed really was a temporary lease with the provision to purchase the land. And it looked like the intent was for the leasee to ultimately end up buying the land. There were some conditions that happened when I first got here. They could not get an appraiser on board. We could not get to some title, so we granted a small extension. And then ultimately they could not find an appraiser that would give them fair market value, or at least a value appraised on the land. So we began to explore other options. During that time, it became evident to me that this is a personal position as the city manager. I didn't feel like it was in our best interest to sell that piece of land, just to carve out a chunk of that particular area of land and liquidate it. I met with the leasee, kind of discussed my visions, my goals for that particular area. They kind of concurred, provided that we could at least provide them an opportunity, if that existed in the future, to purchase, and then that they would have some ability for long-term. They are absolutely compliant on their permit. They've applied for the state to get the permit for this particular project that they're doing for treating well septage. And they didn't want the ability for the city to shut them down with a 30-day out clause, right? They've invested considerable dollars to be able to do so. So that's where we came and settled on a 30-year lease, renewable every 5 years. To remind you, give you context, you have some term of a 99-year lease on a piece of landfill that we own that's connected to the current golf course that sits in the middle of that piece of property. And so I kind of looked at that and structured the lease kind of off of those terms. So it'd be a 30-year lease. You would be looking at it, a commission would look at it every 5 years. The next piece that I added to that would be a rate accelerator. So this current market value will remain at the same. The lease is currently at $11.50 per month. So they'll continue to pay that for the next 5 years. And then at the end of that term, there will be a calculation off of the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, that would then allow the city to increase that at a reasonable rate and a normal rate for doing so. The next items that we proposed changing that weren't in that, since it was really the original lease was intended to be short-term with a potential sale. So what we've done is cleaned it up to say it's a long-term lease, and the leasee does have the ability now to install items. I kind of modeled this off of the lease that we have on the golf course land, where they would come to us and propose an improvement, and we would have to do so. Where this property is located, it's connected to the airport, right? So it's on the east side of the highway as you go by the airport. So it's in the airport zone, and it has restrictions, and that's what item B, if you look through your item B, that would indicate to the leasee that we can't, you couldn't put up a 7-story building on this piece of property. It wouldn't comply with the FAA. So they would have those restrictions they would have to comply with, but they could put up buildings on this particular piece of property. The one condition that exists is that they are treating raw septage, and they are required every 5 years to go through that permit process. They're required to be compliant. And so as long as they're compliant, the lease would be in order. But if for some reason the environment department decided they no longer wanted to grant the permit, we would extend them a lease for 1 year, which would allow them the requirement to clean up the site. So they would be responsible for cleaning the site. Okay. Another condition, so I'm on item 5. So this is the area where we explored the land purchase. And so what we've effectively come to is at every 5-year period, the leasing has the ability to write a letter to the city requesting potential sale of this property. I anticipate that I'm not going to be the city manager forever. And so this provision is really for that time for the next management of the next commission to take a look at what we're doing in that area. Is it in the city's best interest to potentially sell the property? And then they could enter into an agreement to buy it at fair market value. It would require appraisals and all those things at that particular time. I also added a line that would just, if the city decided on their own that they wanted to sell the land, they would have a first right of refusal since they're already currently inactive on the piece of property. Item 8 is the next issue that came to surface when I looked. If you drive on Interstate 25 coming home, when you come from Albuquerque, Socorro, any of those places, you notice that there are a set of billboards that are on those properties. Well, we own those billboards. So a couple of those are actually on the property that we're leasing. So what this does is it really cleans that up. That says, you know, the new tenant doesn't own those leases. We remain, that they belong to the city. We'll continue to service our customers that have those billboards. And then it also provides us access to those billboards. So again, you know, we need to get there. We need to fix them. We have one billboard that's in really poor repair. As I've looked over those, it's probably a project that we need to take on and kind of clean up and make sure we're maximizing our dollars on how we manage those billboards, which then steps into another issue. We have the Love's Truck Stop who have asked to use our water tank for a billboard. So it's kind of like we need to really look over our entire billboard and make sure what we do for these customers and what we do for Love's, if we do that, is consistent with a traditional billboard policy. So that's where that allows us. Their main concern would be that we wouldn't want anybody entering the septic part of the site without them knowing within 72 hours, but 48 hours we could get to the rest of it. They are leasing 7 acres, as you can see from that, from our lease, and they're paying the fair market value. We did have that appraised. I think I have that appraisal here with me. If not, I can provide it back to you in my file, but the city did go through a formal appraisal process at the time, and that's the rate that they are being charged. So it's not an arbitrary number, and we'll continue now. We'll work with our other leases on the property to get them so that that property is leased at the same rate across the board, okay? The last, the piece would be termination. Traditionally, we are required to have a 30-day out clause, but in this particular case, an out by the city would require some form of a material breach. I've attempted to identify what we would think that material breach is. So again, the city would not have under this contract the ability to just go say, we've decided we don't want you to take septage, or we're doing something different and you have to move. We'd have to find a reason that they violated. They're not in compliance with their permit. They're not in compliance with their payments. And then it also would give them 30 days to, you know, remedy the situation that they may have created. So with that, I would try to answer any of your questions, and then I would go into answering some of the questions that we were asked earlier in the meeting. So.
Okay. Let's ask some questions first. Do we have any questions, comments? Okay, do you want your septic representative?
Yeah, let's have Cheryl come down, and then you could ask her any questions. She could comment on the contract itself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor Pro Tem and everyone else. Mark's normally here. He's out at work. So he's asked for me to cover this. Just want to say thank you. We've appreciated this opportunity. I think as discussed in prior meetings, you know the importance of us having a settling pond in a county where over 50% of their constituents and residents are on septic still. And not necessarily in the city of truth or consequences, just a blessing that you guys are giving the cap back to the county and everybody else for us to be able to lease this land. The original purpose was to purchase the land. We are still interested in purchasing, but we do see a vision of, like what Gary said, that maybe there's some in the future with everything going on in our county that we can work together. But want to just stress the vital importance of being able to lease this land for the term that is stated in the contract to benefit the constituents and everyone else in the county. Nobody really thinks about it. tell you, I always say that until you can't flush or you can't dispose of something appropriately, and we provide that important service here in Sierra County, and we are grateful for it. So thank you to Tracy and to Gary for working with us to be able to add those additional provisions, which we feel protection for our business and for all the people that work for us as well. So thank you. Any questions?
Do any questions? So in applying for your permits, how long do those permits last? Are they in conjunction with your contract with us, or do they have a time shelf life for a time?
You bet. So our, they coincide with this. So in 5 years. So in the meantime, we have additional things that we have to make sure that we protect the land and are doing what we've complied with. Gary can tell you, he called, make sure we did everything right. There was a lot of money put into this and a lot of time and a lot of state inspectors that came out to make sure that we were doing the things that we needed to do. So how long? It complies with this. So within the next 5 years, they will come out. They're going to make sure that we're doing and following all the rules and regulations, and we will submit a renewal for our current permit. If there's any changes, they'll let us know. Again, they give us a time frame to make the changes and to carry them.
Other than what you deposit into this pond, are there any byproducts that you have to haul out of there, or is there anything else you need to do to?
There are different things, and I'm not going to probably cover everything, but ultimately there are some provisions within our product where we have to till out there, which we do regularly. And there's a couple other items, and I will, if you want something specific, please let me know and I can get Mark to put something in writing for you and send it back to him. But yeah, if you are aware of the topography out there and the limiting layers, that is why this was put there.
Right.
It wasn't just random. It wasn't to just disturb anything else, but the limiting layers of the gravel, just your land layers, all of that kind of stuff is why this is where it's at.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
Questions? Thank you, Ms. Shipley.
Stick around. We have some questions and you might be able to. Again, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, one of the questions was, is there a permit for the particular project? Again, the state of New Mexico has granted Talon Septic a full license permit. I reviewed that. I spent some time online asking. One of my vision when I saw that, and I see that we had some issues of competition in town, right? So we have asked Talon, will there come a time when they'll open this to other providers of the service where they could use that? And it is a probability. Competition is competition, and they'll have to work through that on their own. But what I felt comfortable with is going through this particular process. We have the ability to lease. I could lease another 2 or 3 acres to another provider in town that could go through the exact same process that Talon did to get the exact same permit, and the Environment Department would potentially grant it in this particular area. Environment Department is really clear that the 2 things that exist on this particular land is the depth of the groundwater is significant. It's over 400 feet, I think they indicated on my notes. And then the runoff from this particular area is really good. It's really kind of flat and there's not a lot of area. So those are the 2 issues that allowed them then to get a permit without a liner. Because that was one of the concerns I had, is how come they're able to do that without a liner? The depth of groundwater and the fact that there's not a lot of surface runoff in this area allowed the Environment Department to grant them a pit without a liner. So technically what they do, and not getting into your work, but they would deposit their septage, their liquid septage into this area. They have 2 holding ponds, 2 settling ponds. And over time, when it dries, Mother Nature takes care of some of it. The sun, the wind, the rain causes it to break down over time. They actually put a chemical on top of it when it's there so that it helps it break down. And as the settling pond fills, then they have the ability to go in and use a machine, a tiller, and actually till it into the soil. So technically all the septage that they're putting in has to comply. So it can't be grease traps. It can't be environmentally hazardous material. It has to be raw human septage. So they have a real requirement when they pick up that they know what they're picking up. They have those requirements, and ultimately it'll just return itself back to the earth in this particular area. So they are permitted. They can put 200 pounds of nitrogen per acre a day Their permit right now, I think if I have it right, 600 gallons per day at 1.9, and they can expand it to 1,200 gallons a day when they get to the 3.8 acres that their permit would allow them to grow to. So again, as it relates to a permit, they are fully compliant. The state of New Mexico knows where they're at. They have a 5-year operating, and they'll be subject to all the same testing and provisions that we would if we were to take that over. And I actually approached them from a position of potentially we ought to think about buying it, it's because then we could service the public, but it wouldn't be in our best interest. The costs would potentially be prohibitive for what we would do, and they're already doing it. And I could duplicate it. You could duplicate it for another vendor. So we've not created a monopoly. We've not done something that can't be duplicated. So I feel really good about that particular issue. Okay. So the question was about the sludge. I think I've answered the question on, again, the sludge that's developed there, the way it's deposited, as long as they're compliant with what they're allowed to pick up, it will just be a return to the environment. The question was, are we using the water wastewater? So when we came on board, Talon had been granted a contract to deposit waste in our wastewater treatment plant. Certainly not knowing how to run a wastewater plant, I feel a little better today than I did a year ago. It was odd that we were doing it. It did seem odd that we didn't provide a contract to allow everyone that was doing it to do so. But in discussions with other operators of wastewater plants, with the environment department, it is not in our best interest to deposit septage at that point into the wastewater treatment plant. It messes with the biology. So it's not the best. There are other systems I have found out that still do that throughout New Mexico because they have no choice. You have people on septic systems, they need to get that pumped, so they do it, but it's not in our best interest. April of last year was the last time Talon Septic deposited any liquid waste into our system. So we've not taken any, which is nice. And the contract that you granted was an extension through June of last year. So again, April of last year was the last time that particular situation happened. I would say from a personal standpoint, if we had a situation in town where a resident was changing from a septic tank and getting on our sewer system and there was a small load, potentially we might allow that into our septic system to help that resident not have a huge cost, but it's not anything we would be looking to do. And it would be a emergency type situation if we did so. And we would probably reach out to Talon to see if we couldn't pay the fees to put that there in their areas. Okay. Let's see, sludge at the sewer plant. A great question. Andy's not here, but since I've been on board, we have not deposited any sludge from our wastewater treatment plant back into the landfill. So we are not paying. I thought that was not the right use for that. So again, when I came on board, it seemed like if they got too much of the sludge and the compost from the wastewater and then nobody was coming to take it, and the beds fill it, because it's pretty full right now. We were loading it up in a dump truck, taking it to the landfill, loading it into the trucks and hauling it to our provider. So we were paying the $40 a ton or whatever our costs are to use that. We were actually paying it. We are in a spot right now where we're waiting for it. We'll be starting to haul it to the golf course. We'll use it there. We'll put it into the ground. We'll return it in areas that we need. We're going to improve our baseball fields using it. And we're going to do a better job making sure the public knows that they can come and get it. Even if we have to reduce the fee, it does us no good to spend dollars to take that and haul it out. It's a good product. The public can use it, and we're going to find ways to use it. And so again, we've not done that since we've been here. I think we've completely changed that particular process. And then the last question, when the original agreement came up with Talon to potentially buy or sell that, an appraisal was done on the land. And I think I said that earlier. So it was appraised. We have that appraisal. And those are the values that Talon is paying. They're paying fair market value based on an appraisal, not just a number that we've put on paper. And so with that, I think I would stand for any questions off of those.
Is that sludge available to the public now?
It's
not sludge, but it's
not, they keep saying it's not ready. So
okay.
it has a process that it has to go through. If you go out there and look at it, they have temperature gauges in them. They have long probes and they water it and they're doing things. I think it has to meet a certain temperature and condition, and the environment department has to then tell us that it's ready to go. And we've been waiting 3 months. I mean, the last time I was out there last week, I bet there's 20 piles ready, and then some of the other beds. So we're ready, but I'm hopeful this week we'll get the green light to start moving it.
And once that happens, you'll announce it to the public and let everybody know so they can get it.
As soon as I get it to our golf course and to our ball fields.
Okay.
First,
I want
I'm gonna be a little selfish. Yeah, it's a good product and we can use it and we can make our grass grow better. And again, at the golf course, there's a lot of areas where we could just put it, till it into the soil. It's ready for compost and it just goes away, right? And maybe in the future, we're doing more public outreach before we take it there. But that's the process when we have too much, right? Is just take it to a place where we could grow grass and do things with it in a positive. So, Mayor Pro Tem, our recommendation is that we approve the new lease agreement with Talon Septic, and move forward with this.
Thank you, Ms. Shipley.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions still. So this contract, is this going to be a template of what you see in the future for that particular area? And what other potential is there out there? How much property do we have out there? How are you going to subdivide it? Is this the process we're going to be seeing from now on?
Yes, this is a process I'd like to see. I'm not exactly sure. We tried to reach out to a surveyor so I could go get the site and see exactly what we have in that area. Cortez Gas is leasing just under 3 acres, and this will be 7 acres. There's a significant flat area to the south. But yes, I think this would be the process we would want to do on that entire track, and then be able to move this on property at the airport. And then our vision here would be, we would take these revenues and we want to add them to the airport budget. So we feel like that's the enterprise out there. Let's use the land around it and create revenue and revenue sources like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was my only question. Any other questions? If no further questions, I'll entertain the motion.
The recommendation's blank.
The motion to
We need to
approve the
approve.
Talon Septic lease agreement contract.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the Talon Septic lease agreement as presented.
Have a motion to have a second. Have a motion to have a second.
Honorable Charles Klein.
Aye.
Honorable Ross Hustler.
Aye.
Honorable Destiny Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Inga Hopper.
Carried unanimously. Move on to item G7, discussion action. Quiet title request, 701st Street. Manager Whitehead.
And Mr. Mayor, this is an item actually that actually arose from my private practice. So that's a case I'm handling. So I offered, I'll go and refuse myself at this time and I'll just come back when you're ready.
All right, sir.
Okay, I'll be right out here.
Suspense killing you? It's all right. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, I was approached by attorney Jay Rubin, who represents parties Session and Breeze at a property located at 700 North Fur. He presented me with documents as he was working through a quiet title issue with his client. Through his investigation, it was determined that the City of Truth or Consequences in 1974 held a particular lien on this particular property. It looked like in 1981, through a quiet title deed, transferred that piece of property to additional parties. You have that information in your packet. Mr. Rubin is the city's attorney. This became a conflict of interest, so we reached out to our second attorney, John Appel at the Koppel Law Firm. We provided all the documents to him, and I think you have his narrative, which is, first of all, the lien surpasses the 4-year requirement on a particular issue. So again, the city would have, if this particular lien was in order, we would have had 4 years to perfect that lien. There's case law that defends that particular, so this would supersede that time. So I think he's indicated that his recommendation is that we move forward with the item to say the city is not adversely affected and has no rights to the lien and would not be adverse to the quiet title. In that discussion, he also requested that I look at the utility service, because there could be a case where we would have an outstanding utility bill potentially within the 4 years or longer. I did go to the utility department. The customer has been a good customer since 1989. They're completely in can't even think what I want to say today. The account is current and active. They have right now just a 45-day bill. So there's no liens on the property for utilities, no liens beyond the 1981 title, which was granted and moved on. So our recommendation would be that we take our attorney's recommendation and sign the letter that say we're not adversely affected, and they could move forward with their quieting of their title.
Any discussion? I wanted to make sure that was the right property because I went by there this morning and it's a beautiful property. It's in great shape. One next to it seems abandoned.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure we got the right one. Evidently we did.
Yes.
Okay.
The names were consistent with the file. Same family seems to own it. So again, we did not get into the nuts and bolts of the case. Why they need it? It would just be really does the city have a lien? Do we have a right to the property? Are we giving up something the public isn't due? In this case, we're not. So.
Okay. I think so.
Yeah.
Perfect sense. Okay. Do I have a motion? I'll make that motion. I'd like to move that we accept the quiet title request for 700 First Street as presented.
I'll second.
That was the shortest one there.
Honorable Ingo Hopner,
Aye.
Honorable Chaz Klein,
Okay.
Honorable Ron Pester, Honorable Destiny Mitchell.
Aye.
Carries unanimous. Move on to item G8, discussion action, approval of records inventory list for destruction. City Clerk Torres. Oh, yes, please.
I guess I should have done that. I'm sorry.
I forgot that he wasn't here. He was so quiet.
I went on to my next thing. I apologize, Angela.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Welcome back.
thank you very much. You know, I stepped out, I thought it might be helpful for me to say something. You know, I very seldom will have to be in that position where I need to recuse myself. You know, you're practicing law, and sometimes when you're in a small town, there's always a possibility of a conflict of interest. And my usual philosophy is this city is my top priority. And I usually explain that to clients. And even in this case, I even told my prospective clients that I don't think there's a problem, but nevertheless, if the city manager or the city commission or even the other attorney feels there is a conflict, I would have gotten out of the quiet title suit. So that's just the way I would proceed here. Just wanted you to be aware of that.
Thank you. And that's a good example.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to item G8, discussion action approval of records inventory list for destruction, as I said before.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Commissioners. Our departments have been working diligently to keep up with their records retention. Our Human Resources Office has 12 boxes that are ready for destruction, and our wastewater department has 4 boxes. So in your packet, it'll show which records are there. It matches our records retention schedule. So I'm just bringing this for approval so we can go ahead and continue with the process of setting this up to get these boxes shredded.
Okay.
And I'll stand for any questions.
All right. And you're in compliance with the state records requests, and as long as we're there, I think we're good, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? If not, I'll make the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the records inventory destruction list.
I'll second.
Motion and a second.
Honorable Destiny Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Ingo Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Chaz Klein.
Aye.
Honorable Ralph Pester.
Aye. Motion carried unanimously. Item G9, discussion action, review, approve, and or allocate funds to the Geronimo Springs Museum, Sierra County Historical Society for the historical mural at Geronimo Springs Museum.
The Geronimo Springs Museum, they requested from the Lodgers Tax Board funds in the amount of $15,000 to paint a mural on the side of the building. So in your packet, it'll show the area of where it's going to be. It's located in the front of the building. They don't have a picture of it yet, but the board did approve it without the picture. So the only stipulation that the board had is that they want them to create a social media page, because I guess since Marilyn has been gone, they haven't kept up with that. And then they also want them to add like a hashtag on the mural. So when people come, they could pull that up as well.
Instagram.
Yeah. So, the board did approve the entire $15,000, for the allocation for the mural.
Thank you. Discussion?
I will say I've actually seen original renders at the Arts Gala. It was quite otherwise. He's a well-known artist here in county. He's on a lot of murals already.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Chris Creed?
It is crispy.
Or just call him Chris Creed, the mural dude.
Yeah.
I think he does good work.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we have the motion.
And then these will be for the allocation of the funds recommended by the board and then the approval of the contract.
You stick that in your motion?
No, not it.
I'll make a motion to approve the allocation of funds from the Historical Society and the $15,000 requested.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Doris?
Honorable Ralph Hessler.
Aye.
Honorable Ingo Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Chaz Klein.
Aye.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item G10, discussion action, review, approve, and/or allocate funds to the Veterans Memorial Park and Museum for the billboard vinyl. Ms. Torres again.
This application is from the Veterans Memorial Museum. So every, I think, 3 years or so, they replace the vinyl on the billboards on each side of the exit. So that's just what this is for. Their request was for $1,541.88, and the board recommended approval of the entire amount.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
I will make a motion to approve or allocate funds to the Veterans Memorial Park and Museum for billboard vinyl as.
I'll second it.
Ms. Doris?
Honorable Ingo Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Ralph Hessler.
Aye.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Chaz Klein.
Aye.
It carries unanimously. Item G11, discussion action, review, approve, and/or allocate funds to the Veterans Memorial Park and Museum for the brochure reprint.
So the Veterans Memorial Park also put in an application for their brochure reprint. The request was for $894.85, and the board recommended the full amount.
Discussion? None, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve and or allocate funds to the Veterans Memorial Park and Museum for brochure reprint.
I second.
The motion and second, Ms. Doris?
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Chaz Klein.
Aye.
Honorable Ingo Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Ralph Hessler.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. All right, that exhausts our agenda, and I'd like to have a motion to move into executive session to discuss item 1, threatened and pending litigation, Diane Gunning pursuant to 10-15-1H7.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session at 11:50 a.m. pursuant to 10-15-1.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Look for the second. Doris?
Honorable Chaz Klein.
Aye.
Honorable Ralph Hessler.
Aye.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Ingo Hopner.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll be in recess. Clear the room. Thank you.
Better